I did put up a story today on the passing of Leo Burke, who died earlier this week. He was part of the Cormier wrestling family. That was not Daniel Cormier, but the Canadian Cormier family. He and three of his brothers all getting involved in professional wrestling. He was the brother of Yvonne the Beast Cormier, and his brother who wrestled under the name of Bobby Kay as well. And basically, the four of them, they were real staples of the Maritimes wrestling scene. But Leo Burke, first of all, he went by this name. According to him, he did not want to piggyback off the success of his two older brothers that he had followed into pro wrestling. So he took the name Burke after a local boxer. And that's the name that he wrestled under several other names, including he started out his career wrestling as Batman in days when intellectual property was not as fully enforced as it would be. But yes, he wrestled under a mask as a Batman for a period, but most famously as Leo Burke, and would also wrestle as Tommy Martin in Jim Crockett Promotions, where he wrestled for a number of years, went to a lot of territories in the States, where he was multiple-time tag champion and heavyweight champion in Kansas City. He would then venture off, and he did international touring with All Japan Pro Wrestling in New Zealand. Later in his career, kind of his last big run was in Puerto Rico for WWC, Carlos Colon's promotion. But it was in Canada that the Maritimes, they would run pretty much a full-time territory during those summer months, and then he would migrate over and wrestled for Stu Hart very early in his career, right at the beginning when it was still a Wildcat Wrestling, and then eventually became Stampede Wrestling. And that is where he had a lot of his biggest success. He won their North American Championship 8 different times and feuded over the title with Bret Hart for a number of those title switches. And Bret Hart was always, he labeled Leo Burke as one of the biggest influences in his career when it came to psychology, when it came to booking. And an interesting tidbit was during a match that they had in 1982 for the title switch, Burke came up with the idea for a finisher where Bret was going to stop a sunset flip attempt and just go down to his knees and hold the legs. And he just thought this was the most simple yet beautiful finish. And that was a finish. He said, I was just going to put this away for some big occasion that I'll use eventually down the road. And for those that it sounds familiar, was the finish for the British Bulldog match at SummerSlam 92. But that was the Leo Burke Bret Hart finish that he used at Wembley Stadium in 1992. And then after his career, Bret got him a job as a trainer with the WWF. He was based in Calgary, and that's before they had any developmental programs. So when it came to Edge and Christian, they had already been wrestling, as had Ken Shamrock, but they would send them to Leo Burke for seasoning. And he also worked with Test, with Kurgan, with Mark Henry, Glenn Kolka, a bunch of guys were sent there. And then he also did some training work when Bret had gone to WCW as well. And 2 of his brothers had died in 08 and 09. And he passed away earlier this week in a hospital in Calgary at the age of 76. So a pretty, especially for older viewers, especially in Canada, would have been the whole family was pretty well known, especially in Alberta and the Maritimes. But he was someone that wrestled quite a lot in the U.S. and, as I mentioned, had multiple tours of All Japan as well, working with the Destroyer, Dick Beyer, and Abdullah the Butcher. So a notable name, and had a major influence on Bret Hart as well. So if you want to read more about that, there is a story up on the site.